We have more media here than we've had during the course of the season, so it's not comments about a particular game. So I'd love to open it up to you for opening remarks of what today means to you.
Tough. Felt it was time, and I've had a great run at this place, and I remember when it hit me that I wanted to coach here. It was when we were coaching at Boston University, and we were playing here, playing UNH. I remember driving back onto campus and looking at things. And I was coaching at a city school and thought that was a cool place, but whenever I walked back on this campus, I knew it was the place I wanted to be. A bunch of years later, when Coach brought me back, first day he took me to the indoor track. Watching guys work out. Barry Barassa, Mike Gallagher, Dave.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. Today is December 7th, 2021. It's Pearl Harbor Day. We'll talk about that a little bit later here in the show. Whispering, that gentleman is, you saw in the beginning, is Coach Sean McDonnell, who the head coach of, was the head coach of New Hampshire, who officially retired last Wednesday. So we have him on the show right now. Hi, Coach Mac. How are you doing?
Chris, doing great tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good. How are you doing with your first week away from the football field? How's everything going, or what are you doing?
I'm still going to the office a little bit, helping out with a couple things with recruiting and transitioning Ricky and the staff into what they're going to do. It's different, but it's okay. I'm adjusting quite slowly, but okay.
That's cool. That's great. Yeah, I found out last week that I was just walking around, the house, and I'm like, I looked at my phone and like, Coach Mack retired. I'm like, wow. I was like, everybody I know is like getting new jobs or retiring or moving to different places, and I'm like, wow. I guess that's the end of because I enjoyed talking to you every football season, even during the summertime when I get you on and we talk about baseball and all that stuff. It's just been pretty cool.
It has, Chris. It's been a great relationship, and I appreciate you how you covered UNH football, covered CAA sports, and covered FCS football. You're a good man. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So talk about the season. It was a tough season. You guys started off 3-0, and everything looked like it was going right. Until I really feel like when you guys went to Pittsburgh, I think that's where everything started going downhill. After you told me on the phone, like on the video call, like you don't know how to get to improve after losing 77-7. To Pitt. So do you feel like that was the turning point of the season, and after that everything started going, you got injuries, you got everything?
No, I thought, we came back and played pretty well the next week against JMU, and we had the lead in the fourth quarter, and then we were moving the ball down the field, down 3, and we're moving it for either the tying field goal or the winning score, and we threw the interception. That did not help the cause, and an off week after that. And never got back on the slide again. Dartmouth came up here and played us pretty hard, pretty tough, and did a good job. And, we just never regained our footing. I think from that Pitt game, but at the same time, we came back pretty strong against JMU and played pretty well. It was a thing, but it was a tough season, Chris. Yes, it was.
Yeah. Well, last year was a COVID season, so everybody, I don't even think 2020 was actually a real season. I just feel like that was just a couple games and it was practice for you guys. But a year before that, you had a health issue. So was that more of the factor for you trying to get back to being full-time, being a coach? Was that one of the factors that you're like, well, I had this health issue. It might be something I may have to cut back, or maybe I should just say, hey, I'm okay. Let's go move on.
The health had nothing to do with it, Chris. I'm completely healthy. Everything's good with it. I had a great team that took good care of me. Mm-hmm. Coming back after that, getting into COVID, that probably played more in a part of it. It was a tough challenge for from March to March, and what I mean by from March to March when we found out that COVID was taking over the country, and then March up into getting up to we played Albany in that first game, and then after that, we couldn't put a team on the field because of the protocol. So that was probably the biggest challenge of everything. And then getting back to play this fall was great, and I thought we handled everything well. We were very fortunate. We only had 2 players that were contact traced during the year. We had no COVID test positive, so it was accumulation of a couple of things. To be honest with you, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just basically, it's been a rough 2 years for everybody. I feel like everybody's going through the same thing. Everybody's having some major issue with something with this COVID thing.
You got that, Chris. You certainly do, man. So we got to keep working, keep fighting through it. I think things are looking forward, and obviously we got the whole season this year in the CAA, and that's a pretty good deal. Now we just got to keep building on the momentum they have from that.
Yeah. Well, let me bring in my partner, Steve Zulis. Steve, do you have a question for Coach Mack?
Yeah, how's the golf game going now that you've retired?
Well, up here in Durham, New Hampshire, it ain't golf weather yet, but I will get the opportunity to play golf hopefully in January and February with some friends in Florida, and then got a guy I went to school with that lives out in the desert in Phoenix, in the area there. So I'll figure that out. But right now we're just easing into it. I'm getting ready to go to Colorado and see my son, Timmy, who lives in Colorado Springs with his lovely wife, Erin, and a new baby, Gracie, someone I haven't seen yet. So those are the kind of things that I'm looking forward to, guys.
That's cool. Well, I got a gift for you. I talked to a couple your former coach, Chip Kelly, who's out there in good in LA with UCLA, and I talked to your former quarterback, Ryan Day, on Sunday on these teleconference calls for these bowl games, because they're in these big bowl games. One's playing the Holiday Bowl and the other one's playing in the Rose Bowl. So let me play the interview. I asked him, both of them, about these gentlemen, about you, and they gave me such a great interview. So let me play it for you, okay?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, Coach Mack's awesome. It was a sad day when Sean stepped down. I probably talked to him a couple times a week. Been a great friend. I love him. He's a special person in my life, and I'm extremely happy for him. And he's one of the true gentlemen of college football, and he's authentic. He's genuine. He cares about student athletes. He cares about people. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. And I don't think anybody that's ever had an opportunity to interact with Sean would say anything different. He's a special person, and I owe where I am in my life to Sean. He's been a mentor to me since for a long time now. So really, really owe him a huge debt of gratitude.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the question. I got really my start in coaching, and certainly I'm in this profession because of Coach McDonnell. Played at the University of New Hampshire, where he and Chip Kelly really mentored me, and football wasn't even my first love until I got there, and then made it my profession. He is one of the best coaches I've been around. He's tough, he's demanding, he's loyal, and had an unbelievable career there. And everybody at the University of New Hampshire, I know, is very, very proud, and also sad to see him step down. But congratulations on his retirement. One of the best in college football.
All right, that's your former coach. And he was up there. Nobody realized Chip Kelly was up there in New Hampshire with you for a while. My brother didn't even know that.
Yeah, Chip was part of my first staff. I was fortunate enough to coach against Chip in high school football when he was a quarterback at Central High. We connected at Columbia University, and we worked together down there. And then as our paths crossed again, when we got fortunate enough to coach together here at the University of New Hampshire, he was a running back coach and the offensive line coach, and then he became my offensive coordinator coach. So he was an integral part in our success here. Talented coach, smart, New Hampshire guy, born and bred here, and played here, and coached here, did a great job. And then we were fortunate enough, all three of us, to connect. Chip, Ryan, and myself. Ryan went to the same high school as Chip, When he played here at UNH, Chip coached the quarterbacks and ran the offense, and then I was the head coach. And then we hired Ryan for a year. He coached the tight ends here, so we've been connected at the hip for a long, long time. And they went out and have spread their wings, so to say, and it's going out there, and obviously are doing great things at the college level as head coaches. They coach professionally together. They're just two great people that help me along the way, and more importantly, guys have learned and taught and mentored kids the way we both, all of us, learned from a guy named Bill Bowes up here at UNH.
Yeah. What sport did Ryan play before he started being a quarterback? He said on the interview, like, he changed his entire profession from a sport that he didn't want to play football. Yeah.
He was a fantastic baseball player,
Okay.
and a fantastic basketball player, a three-sport athlete. I think his first love was baseball, and I think his next love was basketball, and then football was part of the deal. And he got the scholarship to come here. He got a partial scholarship to come to UNH and play football, and then earned a starting position after his redshirt freshman year. Was a sophomore here, and earned a full scholarship after that. Took off and ran with it, man. So
wow, that's cool.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was looking through all your archives of, and I found a video. I know you can't see it, but I found a game that you played against. You coached against South Florida in 1999, and it was down there, and it was double overtime. And I was looking at the video, and I was like, wow, that looked like a young Coach Mack. Like I thought you need to be carded for that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we went for two in overtime, and Ryan was the holder. We stabbed to do it. We were supposed to throw back to the kicker, but a couple things got messed up along the way, and we lost a game that we played and really had a great game plan. Chip put the wing T offense in that week, and it was just a really great first time playing a Division I, FBS team, and we had them, and we went for two. We rolled the dice and went for two, took our shot, and unfortunately didn't get it, but walked out of there with our heads high because we held our own against a very good football team.
That's cool. Speaking of these games coming up, these bowl games with Ryan and Coach Kelly, are you going to go get a chance to go see them personally, or are you going to go watch them on TV?
I'm trying to figure out what to do. The toughest thing, to be honest with you, Chris, I haven't seen my son in a long time and haven't seen the baby yet,
right.
So I'm probably going to keep my feet planted in Colorado Springs and watch it on TV. I've been to 5 or 6 of Chip's bowl games, and they've been all unbelievable experiences. I know I'm going to get an opportunity next fall to go watch both those guys coach in their home environment at UCLA and at Ohio State. So I think this year I'm going to take the bowl season off and stay with my son Timmy and Aaron and my wife Jenny and watch the games on TV.
Hey, if you go out to Columbus, Ohio, come by and pick me up because I want to go to that Notre Dame game with you.
Well, I don't know if I'll make the Notre Dame game, but I'd love to get out there and see a game in the shoe.
That would be cool. Well, I want to wish you and your family a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. I hope everything goes well. Hope you have a good flight to Colorado. I hope your son and your grandkid is safe and enjoying the holiday season. And it's been a privilege to have you on our program. I think we've been having you on for the last 5 years, so it feels like.
We've had a couple Thursday night date nights, Chris, where I've had to walk out of the restaurant, go outside, and speak to you. So if you ever get to meet my wife, you better thank her for sharing me with you on our special Thursday night talks. It was always good, Chris. You were good to us, and again, good to FCS football and good to New Hampshire. Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, and I'll keep in touch with you. Don't be a stranger. Give me a buzz anytime if you need to talk Met baseball or something.
They got a lot of things to talk about. They're spending money. So,
yeah.
Chris, thanks for all you do, man. Have a great night, okay?
You too. Have a great time. Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, Coach, and again, congrats on retirement.
Thanks an awful lot, guys. Have a great night.
All right. See you. Bye. Yes, folks, that was Coach Mack there, Coach Sean McDonald from New Hampshire. Been 23 years up there in Durham, New Hampshire.
Long record up there.
Yeah, it's he's basically New Hampshire's version of Bobby Bowden. It's like he came out of he played for the coach before that who retired in 1999. He took over and he made 13 straight bowl appearances.
Wow,
Playoff
that's
appearances.
gotta
Yeah.
be some kind of a record
Yeah,
in college football.
until the last couple of years, it's been struggling because of the COVID, and his players have been injured here and there. But what can you do? You do a good. He does the best job he can, and and I think this year was a little hard to try to get himself back to being where he was, because when you have a COVID season, it ruined everything. You're trying to get you're literally building a team back from scratch again.
You're basically almost on the point of starting over.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Because you've been off for a year, you got to go back, you got to relearn everything, all the basics, and.
well, coming up in hopefully in a couple minutes here, we have this gentleman, Scott Wykoff, who is from WBAL. He does everything for he gets up earlier, just like for me. Sometimes I have to be at work at 5. He gets up earlier. He's supposed to be getting I'm trying to keep him up maybe for 10 minutes before he goes to bed tonight early, because he has to get up early to do the morning news. So he'll be joining us shortly here. Hopefully he'll log in here. That's him from Camden Yards a couple of years ago at 5 in the morning. It's like, it was like, I'm like, wow, that's a long, that's old, pretty cool being there at 5 in the morning. So and also coming up at 8 o'clock, we got a professional bowler, Tom Hess, who yes, he's not really a popular bowler. He's not one of those bowlers that on tour. You probably see him on TV on CBS Sports once in a while. He'll be joining us at 8 o'clock to talk about his career. And he wanted to come on last week to talk about Mark Roth, because he idolized Mark Roth, and sadly Mark Roth passed away. So we were going to talk to him about his if he had his paths crossed with Mark Roth over the years. So that's him right there.
Well, I'm glad I got his autograph then when I did.
Yeah, exactly. And then 8:15, this gentleman, Pat Skerry, our good friend from Towson basketball. They last night they beat Kent State last night in Ohio. Big win. And tomorrow night they take on the big boy in the Big Ten, Ohio State Buckeyes, at 9 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock at night. On
my dad's alma mater.
Yeah, your dad's alma mater. So I think your dad might be rooting for the Buckeyes, or.
Well, unfortunately, he doesn't follow college football or football. Except for NFL, either the Panthers or the Ravens are about the only two he follows nowadays. And
then at 8:25, we have Chris Hardy, who is he writes for the University of Florida, a Gator, back on the program.
Your younger brother's rival.
Yeah, my rival from Gainesville. They're taking on the Terrapins, Maryland Terrapins, this weekend in basketball in Brooklyn.
For the Hall of Fame game,
So that's going to be a very interesting game. Sunday afternoon at 4:30. Gators and Terrapins will be playing each other, up there in beautiful Brooklyn, New York, at the Barclays Center. No offense, when you first walk there, you get there, you think it's a piece of trash in the middle of nowhere. How they made the building, blend into the surroundings. You're like, what is this cardboard box? So it's a bit.
Well, at least it's not the chicken box like we got downtown.
Exactly. And then coming up at 8:35, Adam Jardy, who covers the Ohio State basketball. We'll talk Ohio State basketball with him. Ohio State and Towson playing each other tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on ESPNU. It's going to be a good game. And our technical engineer, Raven, is sitting there in the corner. Hi, how you doing? Anyway, and then at 8:45, we'll wrap up with Joseph Hoyt, who covers the Dallas Morning News. SMU is playing in the Fenway Park Bowl against the University of Virginia.
Yeah, I heard that. They're going to turn Fenway Park into a football stadium.
It's pretty cool looking, the way they put the stadium in. That's where the Patriots used to play back in the early 60s, before they went to Foxborough. They used to play in Boston, so they were called the Boston Patriots. So, that's an interesting little before they started cheating.
Yeah.
So, waiting here for Scott Wykoff, who so that was that was Coach Mac, Coach Sean McDonough. If you just joined us, thanks for joining us here on the program. Thanks for joining us here in the Sports Talk with Chris Heidel. Today's date is December 7th, 2021.
A day that will live in infamy.
Yes, we'll talk about more about that a little bit later in the show. So we'll see what else we got here. The Heisman Trophy picks came out. The finalists came out yesterday. Michigan defensive end Alden Hutchinson, Kenny Pickett for Pittsburgh, Ohio State's quarterback C.J. Stroud, and Alabama's quarterback Bryce Young were named to the finalists of the Heisman Trophy that's going to be given out this Saturday night up in New York. So, and plus Kenny Pickett just won the Golden Arm Award today. That's the best,
Nice.
The Johnny Unitas Award. It doesn't get a lot of attention here. We have a crowd of people coming here. Yeah. So
At our fan club.
Our fan club. So speaking of bowl games, if you saw the college football playoff, you had Alabama taking on
Roll Tide.
taking on Cincinnati, and you have Michigan taking on Georgia in those four
That's
spots.
going to be a big one.
Yeah, and getting yesterday. Let me see if I can download this thing here. Sunday, I had a chance to talk to some of the coaches on the teleconference call, and I had talked to Nick Saban from Alabama. I had a chance to talk to him real quick. There's a kid, Braswell from Maryland, who's from Baltimore, is on the Alabama roster.
Oh, nice.
So I had to talk to Mr. Grumpy because he was literally Mr. Grumpy on the video. He was doing this.
Like he's not really having a good time. Well, it's kind of like what you do just about every day of the week. There's nothing new there.
So here's my question I asked the coach Nick Saban. He was a little more peppier when I asked this question. So here it is. Team during the season.
Chris is a backup outside linebacker for us and plays on special teams, and he's been used in some pass rush situations and has done a very nice job for us.
So if you want to root for Alabama taking on Cincinnati, 1-4 in the Cotton Bowl, that'll be 3:30 on December 31st, and then the other one will be right after that. It's the Michigan and Georgia game. So we're I'm gonna see what's going on with Scott. Let me see if I can send him a message here if he's on the. I guess hopefully he didn't go to bed early.
Well, he's entitled.
Oh yeah, he works really hard. He does a lot of. He works really hard for people. With Baltimore media and all that stuff. Are you? So we're just going to be, these games. It's Army and Navy this weekend. Let me show you what the Army's uniforms are going to look like, folks. So here it is.
For a minute there, I thought he was jumping out of a plane.
Yeah. Look at that. That's cool looking.
It's not black this time.
No.
One time I remember watching Army, their uniforms were always black.
Yeah, well,
everybody's
doing this new looks now because it's basically all marketing. Like they want to, basically, market, the game, and it's the last game of college football before the bowl games. I totally understand that. So let's see if we could bring up. The last meeting between these schools was last year, and basically you couldn't see the game at all. Let me see if I can bring it up here. Yeah, here it is. Look at it, the fog.
Should have called it the Fog Bowl.
Yes. It was played at West Point up in New York with limited fans last year, folks, because everybody was on that COVID situation. So they did get everybody in. They did play the game, but it's like you can't. It was only open for military people only. And look at this. You can't even. You throw it in.
Almost remember reminds me of the one game I saw about 10 years ago up in Green Bay, where they were actually where the Packers were actually playing in a blizzard.
Yeah.
And they finally had to postpone the game till they got better weather because they were playing it up there in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
That, it's a bad day on the football field in the snow when you go to throw the ball and the ball disappears if it falls incomplete and you have to spend 5 minutes trying to find it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So also, let's say also today's December 7th, 1941 is also Pete Alonso's birthday, former, a current Met, who they call him the Pole Bear. So it's his birthday.
Alonso went 4 for 11 in the series in Pittsburgh. And Pete socks one to deep left, and forget that. That is way out of here. Pete Alonso goes deep, and the Mets have an instant 2-0 lead. Number 18 for Alonso, and he got all of it.
Alonso, it's a high fly ball, left center field and deep. Winker is back in front of the wall, looking up, and it's gone. Home run, Pete Alonso.
Yeah, Pete Alonso is his birthday today, so hopefully next year, if they have a baseball season, because right now they're in the lockout, hopefully we have a baseball season. The Mets are spending some cash, so hopefully we'll.
It was a funny thing I heard on the radio today when I was driving around that I was listening to 105.7,
Mm-hmm.
and they were saying that because of the way the Ravens played last night, or whenever they were when they were playing against Pittsburgh,
Mm-hmm.
is that they ought to trade Lamar Jackson for 5 first-round draft picks and trade Justin Tucker for 10
You heard the same
first-round
thing I heard today. I don't know.
10 first-round
I heard
draft
that
picks
Vinny
and 5 second-round draft picks.
it was on Vinny and Haney.
Yes, it was. Vinny and Haney show.
There we go. Hold on here. Let me get the link for him.
So, yeah, it was – I thought that was pretty funny. That almost sounded like something that could work.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much talent the Ravens would get if they had by some chance? Well, I know they're not – might trade Lamar, but I know they're not going to trade Tucker. He ain't going anywhere.
No. You're not going to talk. Yeah.
They trade Tucker, and this town's going to be a mess.
Well, this town will be, they'll be back to. You don't want to do that to what they've been doing really well for years. You don't want to lose a good kicker. You don't want to lose. I understand about Lamar Jackson.
You don't want to be Dallas.
Yeah.
What they did with Dan Bailey, that was a mistake. Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, they traded him, right?
Yeah.
Minnesota.
He now play. Yeah, he's playing for Minnesota now. It's like he's the second most accurate kicker in the NFL, and you're going to trade him away?
Jeez.
Not a very smart decision, Jerry.
No, not a smart decision at all. So let's give you the rundown of these bowl games coming up here. Let's see. Waiting for Tom Hess to join us here. He's having a hard time logging in. So hopefully we'll get in. I think Scott probably went to bed early. So we'll get him on next week. Don't worry about it, folks. Scott works very hard. So you'll see him, hear him tomorrow morning on WBAL radio. And he also does the Navy pre and post games. So he's going to be a busy man. Yeah. So all right. So let's look at the bowl games coming up here. The first bowl game of the year is going to be Friday, December 17th at 12 noon. This is the Bahamas Bowl. Wow. I guess you're lucky to get down to the Bahamas for a bowl game. Yeah. So it's okay. Let's see here. The first bowl game of the year is next week. Yeah, Bahamas Bowl between Middle Tennessee and Toledo at 12 noon.
Odd team combination in Tennessee and Toledo.
Yeah, odd team. Yeah, that's really interesting.
That's kind of good. That's what you like in sports. You like seeing the lower end teams, that don't always make it to these bowl games, to get in instead of, you're seeing your Clemson, your Alabama, Georgia, you're seeing them every year get in. It's nice seeing, some of the other teams making an appearance in the bowl game to, further the fan base and, get some recognition, say that, hey, we can go out there and play with the big boys just as much as anybody else can.
Yeah. And the last bowl we're going to talk about before we bring Tom in, the Cure Bowl, Northern Illinois. We had the head coach of Northern Illinois on the program earlier this year. He's a former Ravens offensive coordinator.
Hey, you want your job back?
And he went back to his alma mater to be the head coach of Northern Illinois, and they beat Georgia Tech opening weekend. So Georgia Tech, and then they take on Coastal Carolina, who this time last year, Coastal Carolina was the team that we might crack the top five, top four, and
and never did.
Never did. So they play in the Cure Bowl coming up 6 o'clock on the same day, December 17th. So let's bring in Tom Hess here. Hi, Tom. How you doing?
Good, gentlemen. How are you?
Thanks for coming on. It's a privilege talking to you. How's everything going?
Good. How about you guys?
Not bad.
Oh, good. A little cold down here. But...
I turned my volume up a little bit. I can barely hear you guys. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Yeah, we project our voices bigger here at home. Yeah. So talk about I've been watching a lot about bowling since I was a kid growing up, and you've been on the tour for how many years?
I joined the PBA in 2003.
Okay.
I bowled a couple of stops in the 2004, 2005. Then bowled the last half of the tour in 2009, 10. And then, I've bowled a little bit more regularly starting at about 2012, but never really been it's never been a full-time thing for me. I've always had a job at home. So it's, go bowl a couple weeks, come back home, go to work. Then when the tour kicks back up, go back up. So never really been full-time, but been bowling a lot more since about 2012.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking at since 2012. Yeah, look at it. So you won a PBA title. Yeah, you won the Masters. With in 2000. Yeah.
11.
Yeah. So what was it like winning on ESPN? And you had a big lineup. You had Mika was on that telecast. You had everybody else. I think Mika was the only one I saw on the video I had here.
Chris Barnes was on there too.
Chris Barnes.
No, Mike. Back then they only took 4 to the show. It was Mike Devaney, Mika, myself, and Jack Jurek.
Okay. Yeah. What was it like going through that gauntlet of bowlers?
It was an unbelievable week. I say I went through Hall of Fame row. My first match was against a good friend and USBC Hall of Famer Lenny Borish. That was a very close, very tight match. I think I beat Lenny by like 8 or 10. Then moved on to bowl Walter Ray and got lined up. Saw how Walter played the lanes against Bill O'Neill in his match right next to me when I was bowling Lenny. And then made a ball change. Went to the virtual gravity nano, the one that ended up doing the damage the rest of the week, and bowled 777 at Walter, and then bowled 750, 765 the next 2 matches against Tommy Jones and Patrick Allen, and then I beat Chris Warren and. Didn't bowl as well. That match ended up being on a burn pair that wasn't very good. I bowled 640, but was fortunate enough to come away with the win. And then I actually lost to Jack for the number 1 seed. So I was the 2 seed on the show, and then beat Mika on the show and Jack to win the title.
That's cool. It wasn't like bowling against Chris Warren, because Chris Warren was one of those guys I grew up watching on Saturday afternoon in the early 90s. He was that cranker that was from Dallas, Texas. He was good, and all of a sudden he just disappeared, and then he came back around. Like, where did you come from? Yeah.
I don't know that Chris has ever disappeared. I mean, I think maybe he took a little time away from the tour as well. As we all know, Chris is a very accomplished player. I think he's got somewhere near 50 regional wins, if not more than that. He's one of the all-time regional wins leaders, and what's it like to bowl against him? I mean, at that time I was, kind of an unknown on the national scene anyway. I'd been the player of the year a couple of times in the Midwest region before that. I had actually earned an exemption back in December of 2010. That's part of the reason that I was at the Masters. After I earned my exemption in 2010, I decided to bowl the last half of that season. There was only 6 events left, and lo and behold, I go and win one. And so I'm supposed to get a 2-year exemption. And then, as we all know, the exempt tour went away before I got to bowl that next year.
Now, when you get the exemption, do you have to win a tournament in order to get a 1-year exemption, or how does that work?
No, back then when they had the exemption, when they first came up with it, they did a tour trials where it was basically 1 week. Anybody that wanted to enter, paid the money, went and bowled, and the top 8 or 10 or however many it was earned an exemption for the next year. And then towards the end of that, the PBA did what I thought was a very smart thing. They tied the regional tour into earning an exemption on tour. So they made the RPI finals basically tour trials. Mm-hmm. So you had to qualify to get to the RPI, and then the top, I believe the year I made it, it was the top 8 at the RPI got to be exempt. I finished second to Brian Smith that year at the bowling stadium, and it was quite a year. I mean, I wish I would have got to bowl exempt. Who knows what would have happened? Maybe my life would have been different. But
I know Chris said he's much into bowling as I have. I did it for 28 years. I tested the waters a little bit in the regional circuit, but I just felt that at the time I wasn't prepared enough for it. I mean, I did a couple of regional tournaments, but I never really did. Anyway, I guess it's because I didn't have the pattern layout, down well enough and whatnot. So I started taking some leagues on that actually used the pro patterns in a normal bowling setting, but it was a PBA pattern league. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
how to play.
Yeah, the PBA started the PBA Experience League, where you actually bowled on the PBA patterns. That was a very good idea that they had, and I wish that would have taken off a little bit better. Great idea to show people just how different the lanes are on the PBA tour than they are in regular leagues.
Yeah, because I found I did better on the longer patterns, like the scorpion, the shark, some of the longer patterns I did better on than I did with the shorter patterns. Is I'm a big hook thrower, so I was on the shorter ones. I had to put a little bit more power behind the ball, playing outside in order to get the ball to come back, and it was something I wasn't full familiar with. I mean, it's still bowling. You're doing the same thing. You're just making a little bit more work to get the result that you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's several ways to attack it. You can normally I throw it a little bit harder when we're bowling on shorter patterns, and I use the big strong balls to try to get them to slow down. Slow response balls, since you've got so much friction on the lane. But I can see how most people would probably tend to bowl better on the longer patterns. I think the longer patterns can be a little bit more forgiving than the shorter patterns. The more friction that's on the lane, I think the bigger your mistakes are amplified.
Yeah. We're here with Tom Hess, professional bowler who bowls on the senior tour now. Won a senior title, beating our good friend Chris Barnes, who's a good friend of ours here on the program. He won that King of the Lanes thing earlier this year, and he brought the crown on the program. And I guess I'm like, sire, thanks for coming on. But I asked him funny questions about. I asked a question from when he was. I found an old clip of him in 1989. He was bowling as an amateur on NBC with Mark Roth. I think it was Marshall Holman and Lisa Wagner. And I asked him. I said, what was like bowling with those guys? With the lady, and two legends. And he goes, well, I learned something, when I was, I need to learn not to open my mouth to a reporter, because he said something about women's bowling is different than men's bowling. And he found out later in a couple months later down the road, that was Lisa Wagner's father who wrote the article. so basically he learned from a long period, after that he needs to understand about the media. So
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. Have you ever, my question is, have you ever had that situation before? Like when you've been on the tour and somebody came up to you, like a reporter from a different city, or asked you like a weird oddball question?
I don't know how well you guys know me, but one of my nicknames is Tommy Fry. I'm a pretty passionate guy. Sometimes when things don't go very well, I've been known to be demonstrative, on the lanes, and that's the one that gets me when you do something good and everybody wants to talk about Tommy Fry. They want to talk about stories and all that. That's probably the weirdest question that I've been asked through all this, and it'll always be there. It's the passion that drives me. It's what makes me who I am. But I'm getting much better at keeping it in check nowadays.
And did you ever bowl a perfect game on tour?
Oh yeah. I've got I think it's around 22 PBA 300s.
Wow, I think Steve here, my partner, has 300 on Wii.
Yeah, I hold the record for the most 300 games on Wii bowling at like 75.
Very nice. Very nice.
But in the 28 years I bowled, I could never do one on the lanes.
Yeah, I've got a few.
I got into the 290 mark, above the 290 mark twice, but I did the best game I ever did was 296. It came down to the last shot, and I just completely shanked it.
Yeah. Well, Tom, the reason we we tried to get you on the program last week because Mark Rolfe passed away, and did you ever? Mark Rolfe was basically your idol growing up, like me. I grew up watching him because I was from New York, and and that guy just went up there to the lanes and just chucked it. And I don't even have a style like everybody else has a style. I just chuck it down the lane like my mom said when I did it bowled in the kitchen. Bowling with grapefruits and the green bean cans. But what is your experience with Mark Rolfe? Did you have any cool experiences with him that you're always going to remember?
Mark was pretty much done bowling by the time that I had joined the tour. He was already on the senior tour, and I didn't pay too much attention to him. But that came out wrong. I've always paid attention to him, but was pretty much done on the tour, and he was on the senior tour. And at that time, they were on TV, so I got to watch him then. But my really only interaction with Mark was shortly after I won the Masters. I bowled the plastic ball tournament that was out in New York, and Mark was there, and I was able to talk to him. And when one of your idols growing up, it's pretty much him and Pete Weber are the two guys that I wanted to be like. And when one of your idols, comes up and knows your name, that's a pretty cool experience. Like I said, every Saturday afternoon, man, it was ABC TV, hoping that Mark Rolfe was on the show. Just the power, the making the 710, just the ultimate power that the guy had. Everybody wanted to be like him. He revolutionized the sport.
Yeah,
truly an icon.
Yeah, I was bowling at a pro-am up in Forest Hill in Maryland, and Walter Ray came up there with Tim Chris and Danny Wiseman and all that stuff. And I was bowling, and I threw one right down the lane, and Walter came up to me and goes, "Was that you?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Wow, that's almost like a Mark Rolfe strike right there. It was loud." Yeah, I was like, "Well, I just chuck it."
Yeah.
I guess I got a lot of upper body strength I don't realize I know I have. Except for now I'm working at Home Depot lifting trees, but I might have more power.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on. what are you doing for the holiday season? Staying home and just relaxing?
Well, I'm actually pretty busy. I'm getting ready to head down to St. Louis this weekend to bowl the holiday doubles.
Okay.
Then I'm bowling with Eddie Bird down there. Then the next weekend I'm going down to Houston to bowl a PBA over under 50 with AJ Johnson, and then heading out to Vegas for the RPI, in January, and then the tour season starts up. So the Players, and then the U.S. Open and all that. So just being busy, and in between when I have a weekend off and it coincides, going to watch some college bowling. So
that's cool. That's awesome.
Busy time.
I was reading your bio before I let you go. You were a big Hawkeyes fan, right? So sorry about
yeah. They played really, really good Saturday night, didn't they?
Yeah, they got steamrolled. I didn't even realize
for the first 6 minutes.
Yeah.
I wonder how different that game would have been had the fullback not fallen down on that pass where going for the touchdown. If we'd have actually scored that touchdown on that first drive and kept the momentum going a little bit, who knows how different everything might have been. But hey, Michigan's a great team. Kind of stinks that they rigged the polls to put Alabama 1 and Georgia 3, so they didn't have to play in the first game because they're trying to get them in the championship game.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Michigan play Cincinnati. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That'd be a good one. I talked to Mr. Grumpy the other day, Nick Saban, on the video call. He was Mr. Grumpy. He was doing one of these. I was like, really? I was like, I guess they were bothering him or something like that. It's like, if you want to send your assistant in, like maybe next year, if you don't want to do the teleconference call, let somebody else do it,
Yeah.
But I guess these coaches get asked the same question all the time, and and it's a recurring record, And I know we have basketball coaches coming on the show; they probably hear the same record all the time. So
yeah.
So well, let me let you go. Thank you so much for coming on, and
you're welcome, guys.
Wish
Thank you very much for reaching out and asking me to be on.
No problem. And don't be a stranger. We'll get you on down the next year. We'll see how everything's going. And I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a great New Year.
Thank you. You guys have a Merry Christmas and a good New Year. Easy for me to say. A good New Year as well.
All right, cool.
Right, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
You too. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that's Tom Hess, a professional bowler from the PBA who bowls on the senior tour. So let's bring in our good friend Pat Skerry, who last night pulled in a big win at Kent State. Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to see you, my man.
How are you doing? How's the state of Ohio? Are they enjoying Towson basketball after knocking off Kent State last night?
Yeah, we're enjoying it. We're a good team win against a good club on the road. Those road wins are always sweet, and we've turned the page, game for a big balance night against the Buckeyes.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough matchup tomorrow night at 9:00. So you guys both have 6 wins. That's going to be interesting. But you did play a good game against Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. So maybe you want to use some of that Pittsburgh mojo. Maybe that could, shock the world tomorrow.
Well, it's a 40-minute game, as you know, and we've got to execute at a high level, and that way we can give ourselves a chance to get a victory. We played hard and did some good things at Pittsburgh, but we had some breakdowns and executions late. Ohio State's better than that, so we'll have to execute at a higher level. But our guys are ready and they're excited for the opportunity.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be a great opportunity against a Big Ten school, and they just beat Penn State over the weekend, and they just knocked off Duke a week ago. So they're pretty. The Buckeyes are pretty rolling right now.
Yeah, I mean it's a national TV game, and Ohio State's a brand name in college basketball. But that's the beauty of college basketball. You get to play every night. It's a 40-minute game, and we'll try to put a game plan together that gives us a chance. But they're good, and we know they're good. But like you said, we try to schedule a great non-conference to help get us ready for the CAA.
Yeah. Last night when you played against Kent State, you had a great way to start out the game. You guys just came out of the gate fast. Is that something you guys been working on to get the engine rolling, good, ready to go? Because I know sometimes teams when they first play the first time out get kind of sluggish. They don't know where they are. They've been on the road, bus. You guys came right out of the gate last night, like here at Kent State. Welcome. This is Towson basketball.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, especially on the road, you want to get off to a great start, and we were able to do that. The other night, that would be beneficial for us. But a lot of that had to do, the ball movement was good, and then we were able to make some shots, so that was extremely helpful.
Yeah, I think he's in the folks. It's Pat Skerry. He's out there in Columbus, Ohio, next to going to take on Ohio State, tomorrow night, 9:00 on ESPNU. So, Coach, what did you guys do today on a day off? I know it's in between games. What do you guys do in between games on this road trip? Do you guys work on schoolwork? Do you guys have stuff to do? Do you guys do a small walkthrough? Go through the preparation for tomorrow's game a little bit.
That's a great question. We got in last night around 11:30, and guys shut it down. Got them up this morning for breakfast, and then a lot of the guys had academic meetings and some tutoring and schoolwork to do in the morning. And staff, obviously, we were watching the state film, trying to put a game plan together. Coach Clark already he has the scout, so he's the point person on it. And then what happens is this afternoon we had a 40-50 minute movement session with our strength coach, Coach Vore, and then we went in and watched some film of last night, things we did well, things we can get better at, and then we watched some Ohio State film, and then we had a long walkthrough going through some of their sets and our coverages. And giving a team dinner, and that will turn the page tomorrow. We'll shoot a walkthrough, and because it's a lake, we'll have a later walkthrough back at the hotel before we have pregame meal.
That's true. Well, Coach Pat, I know you're a busy guy. Let me let you go. The internet connection is, fadey a little bit in and out. So thanks so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. I want to wish you guys good luck tomorrow night. Hopefully you guys can pull off a big win. You can watch that game tomorrow night on ESPNU at 9:00. Ohio State ranked 21st or 22nd, whatever polls you look at it. But that will be a big win for the RPI and everything else for Towson if we get to March.
I appreciate you having me on, and I apologize for the internet. You have a great night.
You too. Have a good one. All right, man. Safe trip. See you soon. All right, that's Coach Pat Skerry, who, folks, in different places in hotels, you have problems, with the internet. Like last week, we had Connor O'Neill on the program, and he was flying from the Wake Forest basketball arena, and he couldn't even get on the internet, because the internet wasn't working. So
sounds like the internet at the Chicken Box downtown.
Exactly. So let me give a call to Chris, the Florida Gator gentleman. So let me give him a call. Hold on a second. In the meantime, let me play you a video of the Army uniforms that you're going to see tomorrow night, Saturday at 3:00 on CBS. I didn't put sound on it, so I'm just going to use it for.
Hello.
Hey, Chris. This is Chris Heidel from Herbert and Radio in Baltimore. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I really do apologize for StreamYard. I don't know what they're doing because it's the link was easy for everybody else to log in, but I'll look into that. I don't know what's going on.
It's probably operator error, but I just got there and it just said, I had a dead end, so I
That's okay.
But just to tell you what's going on.
That's okay. Well, I'll check into that because that's happening. Then I need to let them know because we're like basically we don't have a budget to pay for anybody, so it's like why, yeah. Yeah. So, all right, hello everybody. Yeah, we're welcome back to the program. Yeah, that was a silent video of what Navy is going to be using for Saturday against Army. So let's bring in our a new guy to the show, Chris Hardy, who is actually from this local area. I didn't realize you're from Virginia, Chris. So I guess watching Maryland is basically almost like you're almost closer to home.
Yeah, I was born in D.C. I grew up in Northern Virginia. Last name is Harry, by the way, not Harvey.
Sorry, Harry. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But yeah, that's where I grew up. I got a lot of roots. I root for a lot of teams back there, and in fact, I grew up a slave to ACC basketball. Watching that, it was weird because you moved to Florida. I went to school in Florida, and I go down there, and everyone's. It's all about it's all about Kentucky and nothing else when you back then when you lived in the South in basketball. So it was a little bit of an adjustment for me, but I've made the adjustment over the years. I still like ACC basketball. I got a daughter at UVA, and it's a crazy season. I'm watching JMU is about to upset Virginia right now as I'm watching it on television. So yeah, it's been a crazy year to date, no doubt.
Yeah,
as you guys know up there.
Yeah, exactly. Maryland. Having you guys, the Gators are taking on the Terrapins this Sunday up in Brooklyn in this Hall of Fame or whatever classic game they're doing at the Barclays Center. Talk about playing. Florida doesn't really go up to New York except for playing in the Jimmy V Classic or maybe a whatever first round game in the NCAA tournament. So, is there any followers up there in New York City for the Gators?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's a Gotham Gator Club, and actually, there was a time Florida played in New York. They had a stretch, I think, where they played 6 times there over 5 years or something like that. So they've been up there a bunch. Their most famous trip up there would be people remember Chris Chiozza's buzzer beater to knock Wisconsin out in the Sweet 16 round in the 2017 NCAA tournament, which is, took the length of the court in 4 seconds and hit the 3-point shot. But they played Duke up in Madison Square Garden. They played just 2 years ago. They played Providence in the Barclays Center in this same event. So they're no stranger to going up there and playing some of these games.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to talk about last night. Tough night for the Gators losing to Texas Southern. What happened? What happened?
I don't think you can talk about Florida without talking about last night. I mean, it was as difficult a loss as the program has had in probably a decade for sure. Certainly during Mike White's tenure. I said it's weird. Texas Southern is a fascinating team in that they're from the SWAC, but they were in the NCAA tournament last year. They won a first 4 game and ended up losing to Michigan in a game. But if you look at every year, they play no home games in their conference. They've already played at Oregon, at St. Mary's, at Washington, at Air Force, at NC State, back to Brigham Young. And they just lost to Louisiana Tech a few days ago. They got more road trips to go, so they come through Florida. This is their first win of the season. And it was a brutal one, but it was a brutal loss for Florida, but it wasn't even close. Florida got manhandled. Texas Southern shot 57%. They out-rebounded them 46-23. They scored almost 61% of their points in the paint. The game wasn't close. So Florida, has a quick turnaround. They have to play Wednesday night against North Florida here at home. They have a 1-day prep for that, but that 1 day is going to be spent soul searching. They had a 3-hour team and coaches meeting behind closed doors and a light practice, and they got to get back out on the court and try to fix things. But you want to talk about playing Maryland, they just got to worry about themselves right now, trying to beat North Florida and then get ready to play in a big game in New York, obviously on Sunday.
Yeah, speaking of that, this is the first time Maryland has played Florida since I think it's like 2000. It's back when Gary Williams was the coach, way back.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that game was down in Gainesville. They may play at home. I don't remember. I know Maryland came to Gainesville and beat them. I want to say it might have been 2001, something like that. But yeah, I mean it's obviously two brand name programs, and that's why they're sticking it. That's why they picked that game for something like a night in Brooklyn. So it's a 4:30 in the afternoon game. It's obviously a quadruple header. I think Iona and Furman is the nightcap game after that one, but I imagine they'll be Maryland. I'm sure has following up in New York City, plenty of, but so will Florida. And for right now, they're two teams trying to bounce back from some serious adversity, obviously.
Yeah, well, Maryland getting shockingly, Coach Turgeon, resigned Friday afternoon when I was in the middle of making dinner, and I was like, "What happened here? What's going on?" And then now they got Danny Manning, who is a former Kansas star, being the coach of Maryland, and that's kind of like, to me, that's really odd.
Yeah, I mean, Florida has actually faced Danny Manning. They played in a neutral site game in Miami, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago when Danny Manning was the coach at Wake Forest. But obviously Turgeon and Manning, if I understand, were teammates at Kansas when Danny Manning went on that incredible national championship run with Larry Brown. So is this his first year up there, if I'm correct, as an assistant coach?
Yeah, this is his first year. Yeah, he just signed on with Coach Turgeon, I want to say April.
Yeah, so he fell into a pretty good situation. He's now all of a sudden coach of a team that obviously Maryland's supposed to be good every year, and I don't know what the behind the scenes situation was with Mark Turgeon. I don't follow it that closely. I read the Washington Post every day. I will say that. Mm-hmm. So I did read about all the fallout from him, and I don't know what was going on there, but for some reason Damon Evans thinks that in the first week in December, it's the right time to make a coaching change, or a right time for Coach Turgeon to step down. So really weird things going on. There's some serious adversity, and I guess they didn't answer that first call very well in the Big Ten opener against Northwestern. But that's I don't know which is worse. I mean, I think Florida's probably dealing with a worse loss, whereas Maryland's dealing with a whole upheaval of their program right now. So we'll see who the survivor will be come Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I was at the game last Wednesday, Maryland Virginia Tech, and it was a good game in the first half. It was like Maryland was down by 2 at the half, and then I had to get home because I had something to do here, and I was listening in the car. And when you go 1 for 13 with a 3-point line, and plus you get everybody, the fans start booing you, that is a problem. I feel like when I heard that, on the way home, like, okay, you get people started booing you, that might be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, boost part of the deal, and if you're not playing well and you have high expectations, that's going to come with it. I mean, I'm just looking at their game. I mean, their losses. I mean, George Mason, they were in the game, but even their wins have been. I look at Vermont; they won by 11. The George Washington game was a 7-point game. The only double-digit win it looks like they have was the Quinnipiac game, and then the Louisville, Virginia Tech, and Northwestern games were all inside 10 points, and so. They haven't figured out how to close games yet. But I mean, I'm not going to sit here and listen to somebody who watches Maryland say "woe is me" with regards to the 3-point line. Florida went to Oklahoma last Wednesday and was 4 for 24, and against Texas Southern yesterday was 5 for 24. So they're 9 of their last 48 from the 3-point line in 2 losses after starting 6-0. They beat Ohio State down in a tournament in Fort Myers. Ohio State's next game, they go out and they beat number 1 Duke. Florida was probably feeling pretty good about themselves, which was probably part of the big problem. And now they had their serious comeuppance, and they've been slapped back down to reality. I mean, I don't know if you get much lower than losing to Texas Southern on your home court. So it was a debacle. And it's something that they have to fight back from. But before they see Maryland, like I said, they have a chance to kind of get an idea of what they need to do correctly when they play North Florida Wednesday night at home.
Exactly. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the program, and it's going to be a very interesting game. 2 teams, basically, hopefully Florida can get it together before they head up to New York, and Maryland has to wait till Sunday to play a game because they don't play until Sunday, so they're going to be well practiced.
And well rested.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I want to wish you and your family a happy holidays and safe trip to Brooklyn if you head up there this weekend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Merry Christmas to everybody there. Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right.
Have a bye. All right. That was Chris Harry, who writes for the Florida Gators basketball on FloridaGators.com. So I'm from the this area. He was born and raised in Virginia, so I guess he
a little bit of the hometown.
Yeah, It's pretty interesting, but I feel like this time of the year, you've been practicing a lot. Some teams don't practice that much, and I feel like a lot of players are just busy with trying to get their education taken care of, and they're not,
Yeah, not focusing a whole lot. I mean, because education. I was always told education comes first, playtime comes second. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel like a lot of these teams, and plus if you play back-to-back nights, like Towson, they have a night off, and then they play Ohio State. And Pat is on the road with their kids, in the hotel, and it's a different hotel than the night before. Like you said, you heard the interview with Coach Skerry. They shut it down last night at 11:30 when it got there. It was like, you got done at 10 o'clock or 9:30. You packed up, you hit up from Kent State. You're from Ohio. Where is Kent State in the vicinity of Columbus?
I want to say it's in west side of Columbus.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that, but I believe it's over west side of Columbus.
Going towards Dayton, over that area?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a short bus trip. You got to go to a new hotel. Plus, you got to go through due protocols because you're going to go through the Big Ten. So you had to take a test for COVID-19 and see if you're not, all that stuff. So it's very interesting protocols. And with Ohio State, they had to do the same thing. They played at Penn State. They were off for 2 days, and they play tomorrow. So let's talk about the Ohio State taking on Towson. This is the Ohio State side of thing. Hey, Adam, how you doing?
All right. How are you guys?
Thank you so much. I found you on my cell phone. I guess I had you last year on the program. I was like, I'm looking for the book they have. They give me all the beat writers. I'm like, he looks familiar. Let me text the number. And I'm like, I had one last year. That's cool.
a lot of Zoom calls last year. A lot of screen to screen time.
Exactly. Well, you guys, Ohio State had a nice big win Sunday up at State College for basketball, and now they had a couple days off, and they take on a pretty decent team from the CAA in Towson tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So, what does the coaching staff talk about Towson?
So today we spoke with assistant coach Jake Diebler, and we spoke with second-year guard Michi Johnson Jr. And it's funny, and maybe you guys have experienced this, where more often than not, these coaches will conveniently wait to really break down the other team until after they've had their media availability, so as not to give away the secrets or whatever comes up in the game plan. So when I asked Michi Johnson what his concern about Towson, he said that he hadn't watched them yet, and that was the plan for this evening. When we spoke to Jake Diebler, he talked about some of the close games that Towson has played. I've heard from some of the members of the coaching staff that they think this Towson team could be the most competitive mid-major team that they've hosted in their now 5 years in Columbus. But no one's really given me a really great story or reason for what they see in Towson, other than obviously they've had some tough games. They beat the brakes off of Kent State on Monday, and a New Mexico win is something you certainly you don't look at that twice. You take that and enjoy it. But they've not gotten any real in depth yet on what Towson is going to bring to Value City Arena tomorrow.
Yeah, they haven't really scheduled. They played Pitt up in Pittsburgh, and they went to the wire against the Panthers, and I think the Panthers are up and coming in the ACC. I don't think they're not there yet with Jeff Capel.
Yeah, they're definitely not there yet.
They're not there, and that's the guy, Jeff Capel. Talking about it, he spent so many years with Coach K. I was talking to a coworker the other day about that. I'm like, talking to Coach. He's been with Coach K for so many years, and then he goes off to Pittsburgh. You should know what the heck you're doing. You're a legend for like 5-6 years.
I mean, you would have thought that he was in the running. When Coach K was going to eventually hang it up, you would think that's a guy that you would be talking to, the guy that might be, a potential replacement. But it has not gone well for him at Pitt. And I was just very briefly looking at their scores. I mean, a 1-point loss to Virginia, which just lost to James Madison tonight. A 1-point loss to Minnesota. A 10-point loss to UMBC. Yeah, their only 2 wins are Towson and UNC Wilmington. So I'm not sure what Capel what he thinks he's got going there, but it's not a good run right now for them.
No. Well, let's talk about this series with Towson. You guys haven't, Ohio State hasn't played them since I think I did some research. 2004.
Right.
That was a long time ago. I think I was still in college then. I don't know what I was doing back then. But But Ohio State is Ohio State. You know, even you see in football, basketball is turning into that when you guys made that run to the NCAA tournament. You know, I think did you guys win the NCAA tournament a couple years ago? I can't remember. You know, with the guy who Greg, what's his name?
Yeah, Greg Oden, they reached the championship game. They lost to Florida. That was that Florida team with Joakim Noah and all those guys that won back-to-back titles. If that entire Florida team hadn't done what nobody does anymore, which was return for one more season and run it back and try to win another title, that would have been Ohio State's first championship since 1960. And it's it's just unfortunate for one side. It's unfortunate that the sport has an almost unprecedented team like that all decides to come back. So that was 2007 national championship to Florida. 4-23 from 3 in that game. That's what killed Ohio State.
Yeah, and that 1960s title team had some guy named Bobby Knight on it.
He barely played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's strange. You know, like you got Bobby Knight with Ohio Buckeye, who goes to Indiana, becomes the all-time winningest coach in Indiana and NCAA tournament, NCAA basketball, and he's basically the general, and he's not coaching anymore. I don't know what he's doing.
He's around Bloomington. He made a return to Indiana last year, either last year or 2 years ago. Made his first return since he had been fired, essentially, and he's also randomly been around Ohio State. You will see him sometimes wearing an Ohio State shirt. I think there's a little bit of that where he's just kind of poking the bear a little bit at Indiana. He's always been upset about how that ended. So I think there's a little part of that to him, but he has at least kind of come back around a little bit, and he's, Mike Woodson at Indiana now is, they have a great relationship. Mike played for Bobby and has kind of helped thaw some of that awkwardness and some of that bitterness that just did not seem like it was ever going to go away.
Yeah. Let's talk about tomorrow night's game against Towson. What are the key players if people are tuning into this broadcast and then to the game tomorrow night on ESPNU? Who are they going to look for? They want to see what Ohio State brings to the table, because some people didn't see the Duke game. I went to bed early because I had to get up early.
It's a 9:30 game. I went to bed at 3:15 that night. By the time that one was over. I mean, the first guy you're going to see is EJ Liddell. He was first team All Big Ten player last season. He's a third-year junior. Was a two-time Mr. Basketball in Illinois. Really a big-time recruit. It basically came down to Ohio State and Illinois for him, and Ohio State winning that recruiting battle is probably the most significant recruiting battle Chris Holtman has won so far in his now going in his 5th year at Ohio State. EJ considered going to the NBA, had a really phenomenal sophomore season, and decided to come back when the feedback wasn't really what he wanted it to be. And right now, if you go to KenPom.com, he's the #1 player in the nation as far as National Player of the Year. If you just kind of look at the stats and things like that, I think he's had the type of start that you would expect from an all Big Ten, potentially Big Ten Player of the Year type of player. He really, the offensive workload that he has carried is unprecedented in the KenPom era for Ohio State. His offensive usage rate is in the mid-30s, which there's only been 2 players in Ohio State history that have been more than 30. It was D'Angelo Russell and Evan Turner the year that he was National Player of the Year. That's the only 2 times Ohio State's ever had a player that's done more offensively than what EJ has done through these first 8 games. He's a really special player. He's fun to watch. He's athletic. He's expanded his game a little bit this year. He can block shots as well as anybody I've seen in some time. He did a lot at the 5 last year, just kind of being a mismatch with his skill set, but he's basically almost exclusively playing the 4 this year and stretching defenses, hitting big shots, drawing contact. He's the main player that gets to the line for Ohio State. It'll be pretty hard to watch Ohio State for more than a couple of minutes and not notice him. So that's certainly where it all starts.
Yeah. Steve, you got something?
Yeah, I just talked about the thing out there in Ohio. Is that But do you favor more just like your rivalry games? I know you have a big rivalry with Penn State. How does that usually go when you guys have to play them?
Well, I think when it comes to basketball, it would just depend on who you would ask. And I feel like it kind of changes from every couple of years. I mean, they had a really good rivalry going with Wisconsin for a while when Bo Ryan was there and Thad Matta was the coach at Ohio State. They played some really high-level games against each other. 90% of Ohio State fans are going to tell you that the rival is Michigan. It doesn't matter what sport. So that's always going to be it's going to take top billing for a lot of fans. If you talk to Ohio State fans, I think of a certain age, they'll tell you it's Indiana, going back to Bobby Knight and what he did at Indiana for so long and being an Ohio guy. So there's certainly that is built in there as a rivalry. The Penn State thing is interesting because I don't know that there's anybody in the Big Ten that really would say that Penn State is their primary rival. But when Chris Holtmann first got to Ohio State 5 years ago, the Buckeyes win the Big Ten title. They came one game away from winning the Big Ten. They got swept by Penn State that year. They lost at home on a buzzer beater, and then they went to Penn State and got blown out. And then Penn State also knocked them out of the Big Ten tournament. So pretty rare in the Big Ten that you see somebody sweep a 3-game season series. So there is some residual animosity, I feel like, left over between those two fan bases. But by and large, I don't think too many. I say this with all due respect. I don't think too many people think too much about Penn State basketball, like enough to where you would consider them a rival. They just,
I know with Ohio State, their big rival was Michigan in football, but I didn't know if it was the same thing with if it was different, with the basketball team.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, most people would tell you it doesn't matter what sport. It's always going to be Michigan. And when those two teams play, it's always going to be a big game, and it's going to matter to people. They've started on the basketball side. If Ohio State sweeps Michigan for the season, the players get golden jersey, like little medallions. Like the football team, they get the gold pants. They started this 3 years ago, where if you sweep Michigan during the season, then you get like a gold jersey.
Wow!
So they don't do that for anybody else. So maybe that does in itself tell you that Michigan is the main rival for basketball.
Exactly. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. A little insight with Ohio State. You can watch that game like tomorrow night at 9:00 on ESPNU. I guess Towson and Columbus, Ohio, will be watching that game, and hopefully you enjoy the game tomorrow.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, buddy. Happy holidays.
Yep,
Same to you.
See you.
Thanks.
Bye. All right, that's Adam Jardy, who works for the Columbus Dispatch. He's Ohio State's basketball beat writer. When I was working on here, these were two guests we have on for coming next week on our program. We have Mike James, who is the director of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame next week. He does the Jim Thorpe Award, so he'll be joining us next week. A very cool guy. Never been to Oklahoma, so would love to one day to get out there and see what the flatlands of Oklahoma, and maybe we could start up some stuff with them in Texas, probably.
Well, where I'll be in mid-spring in Oklahoma.
And then on Tuesday night, next Tuesday at 8:45, we have this gentleman we talked to during the summer, Fred Olson, who is the executive director of the Fenway Bowl. Fenway Park is playing host to a bowl game this year. Fenway Bowl is actually on December 29th up there at 11 o'clock in the morning. Speaking of that, let's bring the segue in here, and this is a good segue. Let's bring Joseph Hoyt, who writes for the Dallas Morning News. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
I'm good. I really like that segue. That was some professional segue skills. Right
there you go. I know. I've been doing this I feel like some days I get this little, ideas in my head sometimes, and I'm like, that would be something I could work on. I can't sleep at night sometimes because I think, I got to get that done for next week. Yeah. But SMU taking on the University of Virginia. They have never met before, right?
No, I believe this is their first time, and what an incredible first time. I've always wanted to go to Fenway. I'm from San Francisco originally. I grew up a big Nomar Garciaparra fan, and I've always wanted to go to Fenway. And It's funny, the first time I'll go is actually for a football game and not a baseball game. So I couldn't have predicted that one.
I would love to go up there on December 29th. I don't know if I have time to get up there, but it's 11 o'clock in the morning kickoff. To me, on the East Coast, it's like, that means I got to drive, earlier in the morning to get up there, or I have to get there the night before. And the night before, I have my mother's birthday. So it's like, what can I do?
Rocking a hard place there, yeah.
Exactly. But I would like you. I would like to go to Fenway. My brother went there to see Pearl Jam a couple years ago, and he goes, "You want to go?" I'm like, I can't go. I don't have any money. And I'm thinking I should have gone with him because he would probably flip the bill. But hopefully he's not watching the program right now. But
if not, you'll get a text message.
Yeah, I'll get a text message. SMU coming into this season was finishing the season 8-4, 4-4 in the American. Sonny Dykes goes off to TCU with that situation. Now you got a new coach coming in. What's the feeling like with the coaching staff getting ready for this? A new coach seems like everybody I talk to is getting a new coach. Somebody's being replaced or getting fired.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because Sonny Dykes a couple weeks ago actually had a quote on a radio show where he said, "In today's college football world, you're either getting fired or you're the one that everyone else wants." And I think that's pretty apt. But no, Rhett Lashley has come in. You can see him there on the screen. Very charismatic press conference, and he's a first-time head coach. He was an offensive coordinator here, before he went to Miami. So he has plenty of experience, but he's got a lot to do in very little time. The signing period is coming up here in just a week. And he's got to put together a coaching staff for the first time, which I've been told from coaches is probably the biggest challenge there is, even if you're a veteran coach, is putting together a staff. And that's something he has to do on the fly right now. He just hired his offensive coordinator. So that's one thing done, but he still has to hire a defensive coordinator. And the interesting thing is when you lose a head coach to a rival, especially one down the street, it's not like they're going to want to coach in the bowl game and to help finish out that season. So SMU has lost a lot of coaches that followed Sonny Dykes. There's a couple still from the Sonny Dykes regime still at SMU. But in the meantime, they're recruiting with quality control coaches right now, which is, you only have 10 assistants you can recruit with.
Right.
They've lost so many of their 10 that they've now plugged in quality control assistants who may or may not be on Rhett Lashley's staff come next year, but are out there recruiting on the road for SMU right now. So the big question though about SMU right now is who's going to coach the bowl game? Rhett Lashley said it may be him, it might not be him. It's something that him and athletic director Rick Hart need to discuss. And we'll see, because ultimately, this is what Rhett Lashley said. It's kind of hard to introduce new schemes and terminology to a team you've never coached before on 2 weeks notice, let alone, even a team that you have experience with, because, he was here 2 years ago. So for Sonny Dykes, for example, a couple of years ago when he first took over at SMU 4 years ago, he actually coached the bowl game against Louisiana Tech less than a week after he was hired. And it was a big blowout loss for SMU.
Ooh.
So, there's a little bit of history there too. So we'll see what happens. That hasn't been confirmed who's going to coach yet. It may or may not be Lashley, but SMU will be playing in Fenway. That's the one thing I can guarantee.
Yeah. Well, your coach came from Miami, and that program. I'm sorry, I'm a Florida Gator, a Seminole, not Gator. I don't like Gators, but a Seminole fan. And,
yeah, you do.
Try to keep the peace in the family. But anyway, what's going on down in Miami? It's like, I think what they did to Diaz is wrong. I think to me it was like, it's like you're going to work tomorrow, like you're going to your newspaper tomorrow, and they're going to say, "All right, Joe, we're going to fire you because we're going to wait for somebody at 12 noon to take your job."
I hope that's not foreshadowing.
I hope not. But I'm just saying, like, who does that? I can't imagine you waking up the next morning, getting ready to go into the office, getting ready for a bowl game, and like they look at you and go, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah. No, your key card doesn't work anymore, right?
Yeah, or I saw that. Like, somebody on Twitter put a Jet player on there trying to get into that.
The Jamal Adams video. Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. I have a buddy who's a Jets fan, and so that was a funny one.
Yeah, but
it's been weird
down there.
Yeah, the whole coaching carousel has been weird. I kind of have a belief now that anything can happen in the coaching carousel and college football because we consistently see the craziness ensue. For example, like I went to Oregon, that's where I graduated, and that's who Miami just hired was Mario Cristobal. And
Right.
you know, and there's plenty of reasons for Mario to go. Obviously, 10 years and $80 million doesn't hurt. You know, but it's just anytime you think that something's a certainty, college football says, you know, not so fast. Let me show you what's next. And you know, it's crazy. I mean, you have coaches that you have assistant coaches that are recruiting for teams while they're working for other teams. You have coaches that have, you know, will agree to deals with other teams but still coach out. You have Lincoln Riley going to USC, which that floored me. I was actually sneaking away onto I snuck away for a quick golf round when that happened, and I was taking a sip of water. And I mean, if it was a cartoon, I would have spit it right out because I was shocked when that happened. But yeah, no, long story short, what happened at Miami was pretty wild. But hey, they got their guy, and now the carousel turns to the Pacific Northwest, where we'll see what happens in Eugene moving forward.
I heard Willie Taggart. I'm like, he just left. Like, he was only a year there, and then he goes to Florida State, my team, and kind of decided the dumpster fire because he had Jim as trash. But anyway, you know,
Oregon fans are big fans of Willie Taggart. A little bit.
They want him back. And let's bring in my partner Steve. He has a question for you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you prefer having him back as a coach?
Are you talking about Lashley?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't here actually when he was an OC. But I had a buddy who covered him. And I think anytime there's continuity or there's pre-existing knowledge, I think it helps a lot. You know, for example, I mean, Lashley knows Dallas. He was with Sonny Dykes. He knows what made SMU work so well. So, you know, you kind of actually have an idea of what he's going, or at least what his goals will be, you know, and it's a pretty familiar process. Everyone knows him. I mean, the funniest thing about all this was he was announced as SMU's next head coach before TCU announced Sonny Dykes was their head coach. So theoretically, you had a point where SMU had two head coaches, Sonny Dykes and Rhett Lashley, even though contractually that was already absolved.
You can never have too many head coaches.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's, you know, the whole saying, like, you have two quarterbacks, you have none. No, not with coaches. But yeah, no, it's, I think SMU fans are excited because it's a guy they know. It's someone who understands what it takes to win at SMU. And it's a person that led an offense that was exceptional here at SMU before he went to Miami.
Yeah, that's true. Well, you also, you know, I was looking at your bio. You also cover the Texas Rangers. Do they have any money left?
I think the money pit is endless. It's Mary Poppins' bag. That's the wallet they have.
That's a lot of money they put. Yeah, Corey Seager, and it's like and then now we have a lockout. It's like, okay, who's going to be? They're not spending any cash if we're trying to figure out what to fix the ballpark. But
yeah. Well, it's funny because I was supposed to be in Orlando tonight for the winter meetings, but obviously the lockout canceled that. So here I am in Dallas instead. But no, that's been another crazy story.
What is it like covering winter meetings? It looked like it's like this frenzy. It looked like everybody like runs around the hotels and and they have interviews in different spots and it's like must be like Christmas Day for you as a reporter. Like, oh, I got Buck Showalter down the street here. Oh, I got what's his name? Joe Girardi at the bar.
Yeah, this would have been my first time actually, and I was looking forward to it. But like from what I've heard it's pretty much kind of what you're saying. It's a lot of reporters, a lot of coaches, a lot of agents, a lot of people worth talking to, and they're all in one location. So you're not getting left on red as a reporter looking for interviews when you're in person like that.
Yeah.
So.
It's pretty interesting when you get a chance to do these like media days and you get a chance to meet different coaches, and it's like a free for all when you go into a breakout room and you got all these people whipping out their cameras and video cameras, and I'm 6'2", 6'3", and I'm like trying to not get like clubbed by somebody with a camera, and I'm like it's like personal space, people.
Well,
space.
If you were at an event and they had Seminoles and the Mets, the same thing, by some odd coincidence, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself.
Hey, I do the ACC kickoff, and I do go down to to Charlotte, and I get I'm first dibs right there at the Florida State, and I do raise my hand as the first one because I grew up watching Florida State since I was a kid, and that's my team. You don't mess with that,
Yeah.
Like I went to South Bend a couple of years ago, and Willie Taggart, we got destroyed by Notre Dame. And I asked him, I was like, why did you put in Blackman? And he looks at me and goes, I didn't think about that. And I'm looking at him like, I did the John McCain stare at him. I'm like,
yeah.
What did I just hear? And my buddy was with me. He was like, calm down. And when I got out of the press conference, I was like going back, up the field. And I'm like, I started cussing like what the like all that. Like that is not something I want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's funny because people think that coaches have all the answers. In reality, I mean, they're trying to navigate things on the fly too. And maybe you didn't think about it, but that doesn't mean it's any less frustrating for fans, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. I hope you have a safe and wonderful holiday season. Sorry you couldn't get down to Orlando. Maybe they'll get this lockout situated. I haven't heard anything, so I don't even know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I kind of a we'll see, I think, thing on the lockout front. But no, hey, thank you guys both for having me. Happy holidays to you too, and maybe we'll see you another time on the show.
Yeah, you never know. If I could get away and get to Fenway, maybe I'll run into you up there. You never know.
Yeah, let me know. You got my stuff. So,
all right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your week.
All right, you too, guys. Bye.
That's it.
See
you. All right, that's Joe Hyatt, who writes for the Dallas Morning News. So, speaking of Dallas, they play the Washington Football Club this weekend. I still want to call them the Redskins. I really do.
I do it just for the heck of it because I really don't care. I mean, somebody comes up and gives me crap about it, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I look at it as they can still be called the Redskins. They just changed the logo. Like you see the Florida State helmet over there.
Yeah.
Just put the tomahawk or the whatever on it, and you're good to go. That's what I look at it. Or go back to the old '70s helmet with the R with the little thing on it.
Well, you know the whole story of the thing going with the Indians, right?
Yeah. Now they're the Guardians.
Yeah, but you know the story back behind that?
They didn't do their research, and they found some roller derby
team. Yeah, so they're now the roller derby team's coming after the Guardians of the Indians because of that.
Yeah. Somebody, dear Guardian / Indians, it's called Google. Thank you.
That solves all your questions.
Yes. Or if you have a question, call somebody. Okay. Can we use this name? And secondly, please find a better name than the Guardians, because that doesn't sound like Cleveland. I'm not a Cleveland fan, but Indians are Indians. Okay, you're fine. Speaking of the Indians, they're falling. The Browns are falling off the window.
Hopefully that happens to them on Sunday.
Yeah. So please join us next week, December 14th. A couple weeks before Christmas, 7:30. We'll talk to Fred Olson, the executive director of the Fenway Bowl. Also, Mike James will stop by, at 7:45 next week to talk the Jim Thorpe Award. Plus, we'll get other stuff as well. I'm probably heading up Saturday to Villanova to see Villanova's playoff game against South Dakota State. So hopefully Villanova keeps that rolling and they'll play, the winner. I think they might play JMU, but JMU is a whole different story. Like you heard tonight, JMU beat Virginia, big upset in down there in Harrisonburg. So I guess they will be partying like it's like what 19 whatever.
Party like it's 1999.
Yeah. So folks, thanks for joining us. For Steve Zulich, who was here this evening, our good friend George Bashera, who is back from LA, but he had something taken care of tonight, so hopefully he'll be joining us next Tuesday night. Until then, have a safe and wonderful week, and be safe if you're driving tomorrow. If you're in the Maryland area in the morning, if there is some kind of snow stuff, you never know.
I'm not worried about it.
Not worried about it, but Marylanders, don't go get paper towels and bread. You're okay. Right? It's not yet. Have a great time. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.